Okay, what we've got here is the Bimini top from the Kady. Now, if you recall, back in early July of 2020, we had Tropical Storm Fay come through. Well, we didn't actually get caught in the middle of it, but we got caught at the beginning of it because we were in North Carolina about that time. Now, what happened was we had some very good wind gusts, and you can probably go back and take a look at the videos. You'll see the water spout we had at one time and whatnot. But we had some pretty good wind gusts, and I think what occurred was that now this Bimini top is not, it's not a heavy sunbrella. It's probably a lighter weight. And I think what probably occurred was that we had some wind gusts, and there was a lot of taxing, and eventually they started to fail. Well, I think it was in July of the same year, same month, a little bit later on, a week or so later, we were out anchoring, and we had a rather nasty storm come through. And I think what occurred at that time was that when it started to fail, it actually failed a lot more, as you can probably see here. You know, we have the big gaps and whatnot. Now, what they did, and I'm not really quite sure why, but they just sewed this on directly on the zipper right onto the sunbrella. Now, I guess that's okay, but if you get a weak point, all it's going to do is just rip from that point on. Now, this, I believe, is the front of this umbrella, and has the worst damage. The back zipper has equal damages, and it's on both corners, and we'll show you. But what I think I'm going to have to do is actually repair this before I put it back on, because I don't want to fail anymore. Now, there's a couple of ways I can do this. First of all, I started by washing this umbrella. You can wash the umbrella. You can do that in cold water. Don't use bleach or anything like that. But cold water on a delicate cycle with just any kind of a normal detergent, Woolite is probably best from what I read. But I just use all or whatever it is we've got. And I washed it, and then air dry it. Don't put it in the dryer, because that can really shrink it up and mess it up. And so I air dried it for a few hours, and it came out fairly good. I mean, it's not the cleanest thing in the world, but it's still not too bad. So what I did a little research, and originally I thought, well, maybe I'll just, sew this together and then re-sew the zipper onto that stitching. Now, that I thought about it for a little bit and said, well, what I'm doing is actually taking already fatigued area, and now what I'm doing is stitching fatigued area to fatigued area, and then stitching something with a fair amount of torque, potential torque with wind. That'll be on there, and my guess it might just fail. Did a little more research, and there are glues out there. Now I'm calling it glues. There's called tear mend and whatnot. And what you do is you trim this off, and then you glue it on. And again, that may work fine for some materials, but I think in this case, again, since this is fatigue, I'm not saying it's terribly brittle, but it is fatigue. It's not very heavy. I think all it would do is just strengthen this area, but I think the glue also degrades this umbrella to some degree. And what I hate to do is have it starting splitting on the outside of the glue, even though this will be stitched on. So I think what I've done, or decided to do, is I went to Joanne Fabric. Maybe I'll get a sponsor, maybe not. And actually bought, remember back in the day when, well, if you're old enough, you remember that, just didn't buy new clothes every once in a while. And I remember that we had our blue uniforms from St. Damian's, and we go out and play in the playground, and you fall, and you get holes in your, knees or rear ends or whatever else in your pants. And what they had were sew-on patches. Now, the sew-on patches were fairly reliable. I mean, they didn't look great, but when you're a kid, who really cares that much? So I went to Joanne Fabric, and I looked around. They have the denim that you can use on jeans, and I think it's mostly for decorative use nowadays, but I didn't like the denim. It just didn't look good. So I did pick up some others, and I'm going to go ahead and swing over here and go ahead. And I got these. Now, these are iron-on patches, and these are, I'm trying to remember what the material is. Doesn't really matter, but it's not as heavy, but it does have some strength to it. and a twill. There we go. They're a twill patch, and it works actually. I suspect it's going to work actually fairly well. Now I do have the multiple colors, black, gray, and the well, whatever you want to call that color. But so that one actually would probably be the lighter color would be okay for what I want. Now, yes, I'm going to iron these on, and I think it's just for the placement and to provide strength. What I think I'm going to do is put a patch here and a patch on the other side just to provide that extra strength. When I am done ironing it on, I will stitch it. I'm going to put a stitch all the way around. We'll talk about the sewing machine here in a little bit. Then I will go ahead and apply the zipper to back to the Bimini and hopefully connect to both the patches, which then will provide the extra strength and at least get a couple more years out of this thing. I don't know how old it is. It's probably been around a while, but in general, it's not too bad other than those situations. So it works fine. Anyway, so that's the plan. So we're going to come back to this in just a little bit. Let's take a look here now. I've got a Brothers sewing machine here. Now, what's so special about this Brothers? Well, not too much other than it's, I think, 62 years old. I think it's a 1959 model. So I got it at, I don't know, Salvation Army resale shop or something. I was out one day and said, oh, this is great. So, and I knew I wanted one. I have used this to put on my isinglass on our old Bayliner when I placed that. And I needed this because I had to go through not only the isinglass, but then through the sunbrella and everything else, which is a heavier material. Now I got this particular one, I like this one particular, because this has all metal gears. There's no plastic on this anywhere. Back in the 50s, plastic was out, but they still made things with nice metal gears. Now the new ones you buy today, most of them are plastic gears, and they will work okay. But over time, that plastic will fatigue, start rounding, bending, breaking, and quite frankly, I'm not sure if it really can handle the heavier type of sewing that I would need it for boat type of work. So I did get this. This is a heavier cotton type of threading that I bought purposely for the isinglass because it is strong, it is expandable, so when it gets wet, it will expand, it won't let water seep through, and it's actually a marine grade, so that's why I've got this. Now, as you can see, I had to use a socket because the old style, it just wouldn't work, but it works fine. I am using a heavier needle because the old needles or a general needle wouldn't work well. I'm not sure if you can see it, but these are the ones that I ordered, and these work perfectly. They cut through without any problem. They don't break. They're a 110/18, and that's kind of a code or a size for it. So these I would use primarily for marine type of sewing use. Now, when I got this, it was kind of in pieces, so I think I've got it set up where it is sufficient for my needs. And I don't think, I try to put this back together based on pictures. I do have the manual from it, which, I don't know the cover of it, but it's here, and it kind of gives all the, there we go. It gives all the good stuff about the sewing machine, but it doesn't really give me the specifics of how to put all this back together. But based on pictures, I think I've got it, and it worked fine when I was putting the isinglass on, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. I did set it to cotton because it is cotton, and I do have it at not the full stitch. I've got it the longer stitch, a little bit tighter. And so I adjusted this, and it's at a 4, which I'm not sure what it means, but the stitching that I did, the test stitching on it earlier, if you can see it, it looks reasonable, okay? It's not pretty on the other side, there it is, but it's reasonable. So this is what will appear on the top of the Bimini, and this will appear in the bottom, probably because you won't see it that much because it's a cover over for like a flap. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it at that stitch. So that's what I'm going to do. I think that's about all I need to tell you about this for the moment. So I'm going to go ahead, fade out on this, and I'm going to go ahead and set up so we can get the patches on and get going with the sewing. let me show you what I've done. I'm going to treat all four ends of the zippers, two zippers, but so far what I've done was I wanted to get rid of all that frazzled, furry stuff from, the broken stitching and the fabric. So I just basically trimmed it down. As you can see here, it's probably not the greatest, but, just trimming it down, probably like a surgeon would do if you had a bad cut and you were going to sew it up. To clean it all up. So I did trim it down. It doesn't look too bad. It's pretty clean. What I don't want is the fibers, the loose fibers, to be what is holding it together. I'd rather have the solid material. I've also backed off about 1.5 inches here on the actual stitching, because what I wanted to do is have the patch go from solid to solid and all the way around. Also, what I'm going to do here is when I actually start the process, I have some double-face sewing tape that I use when I put the isinglass on. So I think what I'm going to do excuse me, is put on, strip here, line it up, it's clear, make sure that I've got a fair overlap. Doesn't have to be a tremendous overlap, but just a little bit of an overlap so that there's no gap. And then actually use the double-face tape for that purpose. And then we'll cut the patch out to size, we'll iron it on, and then I'll come on back and show you what it looks like when I'm done with that. Alrighty, I have put on the iron patch with the biggest hole. I did put the double face tape on this side to cover it, to keep it from the cut, actually the rip tear being separated. And I did iron it on. You can see I got a little crazy with the iron on the inside, but oh well. But here's the inside of it. It seems to be good. You'll notice that I did round the edges. I remember, who knows, maybe my mother or grandmother told me that you round the edges because if they're squared, that's where it's going to loosen quicker and peel off, and with the round you don't have those corners to worry about. So that's what I did. Anyways, so it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. What I'm going to do now is run a stitch all the way around the outside of it, just to give it that extra little oomph. And again, it'll be down here, so we don't have to worry about it, but I'm going to actually do it from the top and have the cleaner stitch on top, and then the not so clean, if you wish, on the bottom. Then what I will do is go ahead, stitch back on the remainder of the zipper, and that'll take care of it. So we'll be back as soon as I run a stitch around it. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch. Now, I'm by no means expert at this. Actually, I'm probably no means even a novice. But what I'm going to do is actually do it manually. This has one of those little electric pedals, like accelerator pedals. Unfortunately, it's not on the ground. It's on the side, so you have to kind of kick it with your knee, and I'm not thrilled about that. And I'm not sure if I can actually control the speed very well, so I'm going to actually just do it manually, and it still works just fine. This way I can have a little better control of it. Yes, I suppose I should learn how to use it properly, but I'm not going to make this my career, so I'm not too worried about it. You can see it's feeding it just fine. Now I'm just going to stop it here for a moment and kind of adjust it so we keep it somewhat of a straight shot. There we go. I suppose I could probably go ahead and use the electric drive portion of it, but I don't want to mess it up. So Maybe if I ever get a little more expert at it. Oh, actually, maybe on the next round. But it seems to be, it's not the greatest straightest stitch, but it's actually stitching. So that's the important thing. Now we're going to have to make a turn here right about now. So it's easier, obviously, this way. What's nice about it, all I got to do is just spin it a little bit. And just kind of keep an eye on the curve. Come up like a little bit closer. Now make another turn. Get my stuff out of the way here. Alright, before I get too close, let's do another turn. Here, because we threw all this at the top. Here. Glasses don't work very well. Alrighty. I'm going to move this and keep at it slowly but surely. Brings up a little bit more of the curve. Super. Give us a little more of a turn so I can make the round. Again, this is not the most experienced or even the most novice version of it, but it seems to be doing just fine. I'm going to make another big turn here. Maybe I might, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I might run it electrically. We'll see here in a second. But I do want to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. At the bottom, everything should be going out the top and all that good stuff. There we go. Get that out of there. Alright. Do a little more manually and then we'll see if we can maybe run it under its own power. Again, it's kind of touchy, but let's give it a try and just see if I can get it gently. Oh, there we go. Let's go. That was a lot quicker, that's for sure. It's a lot straighter. So I'm actually going to finish it manually. I don't want to start messing around with turns and all this bulky stuff. Okay. It's actually kind of fun. Maybe it's the genetics. As you know, if you don't know, if you're family, you'll know my dad's mom and father were, Grandpa was a seamster, a tailor, and I guess Grandpa would be considered a seamstress, and they owned their own Crusoe Tailors and Cleaners shop on Finkel in Detroit. So maybe there's a genetic thing here. We'll see. Keep going. Keep going. See if we can catch up to it. And then what I'll just do is do a double back and forth over the start point just to kind of tie it in. But let's just get my fingers out of there. Remember once my mom, she used to use she had a sewing machine, singer. She used to do all her own sewing. One time she actually got her finger in there, needle went right through the nail. And I remember that was not a pleasant time in the Kady household for all these reasons. All right, I'm just going to go a little bit forward, do the electric, see if we can get it to work. I don't have to pull this, just drag's all right. Just keep it kind of straight. All right. Good. I'm going to hit reverse. See if we can. Yeah, not straight, but what the heck. All right, one more time. Let's go back forward just a little bit. Fortunately, the speed on this is not good. And I'm going to go back one more time because I can play with it now. It seems to be holding just fine. R for race, reverse. Oop, yep, that just kind of went off on the sync, so let me just kind of get back on the patch. Alright, close enough. Anyway, so let's get everything off. What do I do with my scissors? My safety scissors, so I'm going to cut my hand. And lift it up. Let's get it out. Get the bottom one. Let's cut these off. Snip, snip. Marvelous. And let's take a look and see what kind of a job we did. Alright, well I got some thread there. Actually, it's not bad. It looks pretty dang decent. Sorry about that. Probably couldn't see it. It looks pretty decent. Alright, so it's not the prettiest thing in the world. But it is doing what it's supposed to do. Alright, just voila. Now, next step is just to line this up so we don't get any bunching. And away we go. Now this might be a little more, probably a little heavier stitch, but at least we can now have two surfaces on which we can, two solid surfaces on which we can actually sew onto now. So it will provide obviously far more strength, because I really never heard of these actually tear in the middle or anything, or coming loose in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead. I might do a double face tape on that just to hold it in place. We'll see. Anyways, more to come. Alrighty. What I've done is I've used some of this double face tape, and it will actually then hold it in nicely on the space that I like to do it. Actually, when I was looking at this, I removed all of the old threading that held it on, not the threading that holds the zipper together, but that held it on to the Bimini top, just to clean it up. I don't know if it would make a difference if I did or didn't, but I did notice after I started moving it, there appears to be old remnants of a double face tape. So I guess what I'm doing is probably what they did when they created or put together this Bimini top. So what I'm doing is now I'm going to make sure I've got this all nice and flat. And the reason for that is this has an angle. All right, it is curved. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. Let me put it up here closer. It is curved. So what I want to do is make sure that the curve fits nicely with the top. What I don't want to do is force an unusual curve, because this has to attach with this. So what I'm going to do is tape it on. It's a temporary fix, and then we can just align it, make sure that everything is fine. Now to remove the tape, all you got to do is take that white backing off, like so, and then just get it the way you want it, and then press it on. There we go. It still seems there's really not much bunching. I'm looking for the bunching here. I don't want any real bunching in this area. So it appears, you know, it's still got the nice arc to it, nice curve. So we're going to just give it a quick look here and see if indeed it mates up pretty well. You know, I don't want to pull too hard because then I'll be removing stuff. Unfortunately, I probably should have tried this before. Looks like I got some gunk in there. But that's, oh, maybe it's just here. There we go. That might be the problem. It absolutely was. So let's go ahead and hook it up. Just see if it meets up well. And then we'll give it a little zip and see if it's going to zip all right. I think that might be fine. Let's take a look and see what happens. Oh, maybe it's going a little bit deeper. There we go. Maybe it's all the way in there. I don't want to force it again because I don't want to pull it out of its position. There we go. And that looks pretty good. So it looks like it matches up well. It doesn't look like there's any real bending or pushing out of the way or anything else, binding if you wish. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, eliminate this right off the bat, take this off, because I don't need that extra bunchiness in there. Now, this is significantly heavier than, much thicker. So I'm going to have to do this carefully, and I think I'm just going to do it manually. Let me get the thread back through the needle here because this is not easy to do. Okay, we got it. I'm going to pull the bobbin thread, all the threads, give you some room in there to work. And let's just get it under there. Okay, we're still in it. I'm going to just start it manually. Drop it down, hold it in place. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm in reverse. No wonder, that's not going to work very well, is it? So let's go ahead and get it going forward. Yes, it is very thick. Doesn't quite like it, but it will go through. So I'm going to actually a couple more times manually, and then we'll see if we'll just let the system run. As you can see, I have to do a double jam in there. It doesn't quite like that extra bulk. There we go. I'm actually going to go ahead now. Excuse me. Line it up. We got a lot of thread in here because you're supposed to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that kind of locks everything in place. Where you only get really one stitch here is all you really need. Back down there, you're going to overlap it a couple, 2-3 times, or at least a couple times, so you've got a good tie down. So I'm going to go slow. Just see if we're going to jam it up or it's actually going to catch it. I'm just going to make sure I got my knee on the right thing down there. Nope. Now I can pull it. No wonder. Pushing this not working because it was not. Alright, so let's just see what happens here. No, let's figure. It's pretty thick, so I might have to do it. A little more juice. No, doesn't like it. But that's alright. It's not hurting it. It's just that it's like a fan belt here, rubber belt, and it just slips, so it's not hurting anything. Probably need to get a little more cuts. There we go. Now, just give it up a little more oomph. Maybe if I should keep this stuff on. There we go. Get you that thick stuff. Now great. I'm going to go backwards. So you can go slowly. Doesn't like it. Let's do it. See what happens. Yeah. Okay, well, jamming up there. Let's go forward. Oh. No, didn't think it wants to do that. Come on, there we go. Alright, go back. Lock it in place. Get started here. Whoop. Everything's alright. Maybe I broke the needle. Well, it appears that I broke my needle. Well, guess what? I have many more of that. So something obviously happened, but the good news is I got it done. So I'm just going to go ahead now, cut all this off. I think what happens is when this gets so thick, the foot warps, and I think what happens is the needle, wow, got a force on that. Look how bent that sucker. Put it up here so you can see. Yeah, that's why I gotta be careful with these things. It did put a good bend in it. Not sure if you can see the bend, but it's pretty healthy bend. It hit the foot and actually snapped it. But that's why you keep your fingers out of the way. All right, let me just get this out of here. Lift it up. Pull it out. Cut the bottom off. There you go. Let's see how we did. Well, I would say that's a good, successful sew job. It doesn't look pretty. It's all right, I'll trim all this crap off. It doesn't look pretty, but you know something? It doesn't have to be pretty at this stage in the game. You know, if I wanted to spend a couple $100, get it fixed, sure, I'd expect it to be pretty. But since I'm spending maybe, you know, a few hours of my time and, oh, I don't know, maybe $10 for the patches, I am just pleased enough. Yep, it's got enough of a double stitch on here, so we don't have to be too concerned about it ripping away. I mean, I'm giving it a pretty good tug. So I'm happy with that. Let's do one more zip. Make sure it's going to fit. And it does. Marvelous. Seems to be good. Doesn't seem to be bunching or binding anywhere. You know, the tube for the top goes right in here. Holds it all in place. My mind. So I am happy with that. Anyway, so that's it. I'm going to fix the other 3 corners. And when I am done, I will show you what it looks like. You see here that I've got some stitching coming off. I might just run now that I'm becoming an expert at it. Yeah, it looks like all the stitching's coming off the side. I might just eventually, while I've got everything here, just run another bead right down here and see if I can get a couple more years out of this thing. All right, more to come. Alrighty, so I've finished the other 4 corners. Actually, one was not bad at all. The other required just a stitch or 2 because hasn't been bad. It wasn't that bad, but this one had a little more separation in here. And as you can see, I added a patch with a different color because I ran out of the other sand or whatever color that is. But I did back it up. It's got a nice, strong fastening to it, so I'm happy with that. I am still going to go ahead and put a line down where the seams are coming out. This apparently is a lot older than what I thought it was, but the good thing is it's not in too bad a shape. So I'm just going to go ahead, patch up those areas that probably need a little more addition and get that done. There's a little spot here, that should be an easy fix. But anyways, get these done. So in another month or so, when we head back to the boat, we can go ahead and put this on. Since I did wash it, I will add some kind of a waterproofing to it. I'm not sure what I've got. I've used several different in the past, so I'll go ahead and do that. So that ends this one, this video. Next is going to be the woodworking. I have that one vent for the gen set. And I have a couple of other wood pieces that I'm going to sand down and stain it and put some polyurethane or something on it and have those ready. So that'll probably be the next one. Anyways, thanks for watching. Take care.